So back in November, we had the loggers come out and they took a lot of trees from the back part of the property, but we also had them take some trees from the front part of the property as well. So they took down all the trees that were up here closest to the house. And what we decided to do was we plowed up and we tilled the area around the trees to get rid of as much of the roots as we could so we could expand the garden out. Our garden is probably about 4 times the size what it was last year. We have about 180, 185 corn seeds that we put down. We had to replant a few. We're really hoping that they do good this year. We're also trying something called the Three Sisters with the corn. That is that you put a pole bean plant. You can see one right here. And we have also planted some squash. They haven't come up yet. The pole bean plant is going to climb the corn stalk once it gets taller. And the squash will help to cover the ground to cut down on some of the weeds and the grass, which we've been out here pulling weeds and doing the best we can to try and keep control of that. But anybody who has a garden knows just how hard that is. And it's even harder for us because we don't use any pesticides, any chemical fertilizers, anything of the sort. We are trying to do everything all organic, all natural, because of our bees. Our bees are going to come here later on as other things in the garden begin to bloom and blossom and grow, and they're going to be all over these, especially the corn. When the corn gets tall enough and it starts sprouting up, the bees are just going to be filling this area like they did last year. Over here are rows of pole beans. They've really started taking off here recently because the ground started warming up a little bit more. The beginning part of May, it was somewhat cooler than we had anticipated, so the beans were taking a little while to get going. Over here we have 2 kinds of watermelons. I can't remember which kind. We also have some pumpkins. We have butternut squash, regular yellow squash, etc., in this area. We also have a lot of volunteer tomatoes that are coming up all over the place. Instead of transplanting all of them, which we tried to do initially, we've decided really just to kind of leave them where they are and tend to them and work with them as they're growing. And hopefully they'll do okay with the other plants that are around them. Now the rest of our tomatoes are all back here. Last count, I counted a week ago, I think I counted about 208 tomato plants. Now all but except about 10 of those plants are plants that we have grown from seeds that we had from last year, and they have done fantastic. We just recently put some of the black cover around, which has helped to kind of promote the growth, cut down on some of the weeds. So the majority of these are Roma tomatoes. There are some big boys in here, big boy tomatoes, and a couple others, and I can't remember exactly what they are. But we really wanted a lot of Romas because my wife does a lot of canning, and it's been a couple years since we've had enough to make a good batch of spaghetti sauce and salsa and stewed tomatoes and all of that. And she's just extremely excited about that this year. We are definitely looking forward to it. Over here we have our sweet peas. This is our first year trying to grow sweet peas. They took off. In fact, they took off so fast we really couldn't keep up with them, and we had to jury rig a system to keep them propped up. A lot of them started falling over. So this is our first year. We're kind of making some mistakes and learning from them. I still think we're going to get a great harvest of sweet peas out of these, even though some of them are leaning over. We've already seen a lot of pods popping up. I tasted some yesterday, and they taste so good. They really do. And back here we have carrots, radishes, etc., etc. There's some other plants over here. I can't remember exactly what we put down over here. We had all of them labeled, but we had to take those stakes up we were using to label them to help with the sweet peas. And then back here we have our banana peppers, jalapeno peppers, and cayenne peppers that are doing really well. And then some transplant tomatoes, as you can see on this row right here, and then further back there. You also see some marigolds that are planted throughout. Those are help cut down on the aphids. They're supposed to be a good deterrent, and we've planted some marigolds around a few of the stumps over there as well. And again, that's supposed to help deter some of the bugs, particularly the aphids, which will get a hold of our plants and not make it a very good harvest season. Now over here we have our potatoes, russets, Yukon Gold, red, and another purple kind. I told my wife I thought it was some kind of Asian potato. I couldn't remember. Last year we tried to grow the potatoes in some tires. We saw this neat little video online and some examples of it. That went horribly, absolutely horribly. We followed it step by step, did exactly what it said, and we didn't get a single potato out of that. So we decided, let's just go back to the old way of doing it, put it in the ground. We've grown potatoes before, and we had good success with them before. Not quite sure why our 2 outer rows here are doing better than the other ones. But either way, we're looking forward to at least a good harvest of russet potatoes. I like russet potatoes myself because you can slice those suckers up, freeze them, and then use them for French fries, and they're so, so good. And of course, baked potatoes as well. So that's the garden area. We're going to go back and take a look at the bee yard now and see how they're doing.